Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm picking up where I left off last time. We're going back several weeks now. But I was talking to you about focus on eternity, and I'm going to be continuing with that today, just to bring you up to speed. Or if you hadn't watched the first one, I do encourage you to do that. But I had given you the illustration of life here on earth as if we move into a town, we've got nowhere to live because we are using the plot of land that we bought to build a dream house. But while it's being built and constructed, we have to find somewhere else to live. We can't find anything to rent, and we finally come across an old warehouse that is empty, so we can just move in. We don't even have to pay rent for it. We just move in. But outside is a sign that reads, "This building is due to be demolished on." And there's a date, but the rain has washed it away. So we know that it's going to be demolished at some time. However, that's the only place we can go and live in the meantime. So we move in. And while we're there, we're going to make the place habitable. We're going to make it comfortable, but we're not going to spend everything we've got trying to make that a beautiful place to live because it's going to be demolished. And so we live there in comfort, but not in luxury, because all the extra money we've got, we put into the house that's being constructed down the road, which is going to be our home forever. And so this is an illustration that I got from Randy Alcorn in his book on heaven. And I think it's a brilliant illustration because it really shows us the temporary nature of our life here on earth. If you had a line of eternity, it would be a straight line, like reaching to the edge of your page, possibly with an arrow on both ends, just moving out, because eternity is forever and ever and ever and ever, without beginning, without end. And that is what our lives are created for. They're created for us to live eternally, not to live in this world of sin and judgment and every kind of cruelty and abnormality that there is. This earth is not our home. We are citizens of heaven while we are here. And again, I just think about an ambassador. I had a nephew who was in the diplomatic service, and they had to go to London. And where they were in London was far better than anything that they'd had in South Africa. You know, they actually lived in Wimbledon, and everything was wonderful. Their children were put in private schools, and, you know, you can just keep going. However, some ambassadors, like when I was in Swaziland, ministering at just a wonderful church, and one of the ladies who came in, she had been invited in to one of the services, to the women's service, and she came in and I met her, and she was an American lady from, I can't remember, but one of the New England states in America. And here she was living in Swaziland, where, you know, you couldn't just walk into a Marks and Spencer or any of Marks and Spencer's England. Better get my head on straight today. But she couldn't walk into a Neiman Marcus or into any of the wonderful American shops. She was limited in anything where she could live. She was limited in what she could buy, because Swaziland economically is not in the same standard. It's not on the same standard. In the same standard. You choose. They're not equal to America when it comes to things like that. But when we think of being citizens of heaven, it means that when we are born again, we get a passport with our name on it, and it's stamped and it's ready to go. And those passports are due, they are marked as us being citizens of heaven. So this earth is a place we visit. It's not our forever home. Our forever home is eternal. And this is what this group of teachings that I'm going to be doing on eternity and the resurrection of all things. As we look at these teachings, you're going to see that this is where our focus should be. We can't, honestly, guys, we can't be like children. You know, if you say to a child, you can have this lollipop now, one. Or if you wait until after you've eaten your lunch, I'm going to give you 3 lollipops. Or you give them a choice between something immediate or something better further down the line, most children will go for the immediate. And we can understand that in children because they've got no trust that they can't really conceive of time. And also they can be untrusting when it comes to, are you really going to give me 3? Or is this just a trick to make me eat my food? But we can trust everything that God says. And there are rewards in this life for the things we do for God and the way we conduct ourselves. There are rewards. But our greater rewards are still to come. So God has rewarded me in my life with wonderful things. And just the most wonderful holidays. One day I was complaining to God, at least I was feeling sorry for myself. It's only on this program that I actually ever begin to think of times I was sorry for myself, and I exposed my innermost weaknesses to you. But anyhow, when I was a child, I never ever got to go on holiday because for a number of reasons. But when my parents went away fishing or something like that, they would take my younger brother with them. But because I was responsible and I was just one of those kids who would take on responsibility, so they would leave me in charge of my mom's shop. And I would have to cash up at the end of the day. This was from when I was 12. I would cash up. She got somebody who would walk me home. And so they went on holiday, and I had such a consciousness of how hard my mother worked that I knew she needed a break. She needed any time that she could to go fishing and to just be able to rest and relax. And so I never ever complained about it because I wanted her to go on holiday. And I knew that if I was in the shop, she wouldn't worry. So I never had a holiday when they went away because I was always the person who remained and looked after the shop. And then after I became a teacher, every holiday, school holiday, I would spend it doing extra lessons for my friends' children, always without charging anything. Because I just felt that was something I had to give. If somebody couldn't understand, I was there to explain it and make it understandable. But it also meant, because I wouldn't just do one child as extra lessons, there were usually 3 or 4. And so there was this kind of thing. And then I went to Bible college and something very similar happened. In that I did go on vacation with a friend in one of those SUVs, and it had a camper attached. And so wherever we went and stopped, people would invite me to preach, and I thought that was normal. I had so little understanding of Christian ministry that I honestly thought that anybody in America who was a foreigner and who was at Bible college was invited to preach, not knowing that it was a sign to me from God that this is what I was called to do. So I spent a lot of those vacations just studying because I was so nervous that I wouldn't bring the word across correctly. And then Christy was born. And when she was born one day, I suddenly just felt this overwhelming sense of needing rest and needing somewhere to go that I could just unwind and completely relax. So I just told God how sad I was that I hadn't ever had proper holidays. And, instead, and there have been times in my life where I've been doing something like that and I've felt God laughing at me. And I haven't been able to continue being sorry for myself because I find it suddenly as amusing as he does. But on this occasion, when I was pouring my heart out to God, I felt a clear sense from the Holy Spirit that God was saying to me, I know, I understand, and you're never going to lack holidays from this point on. And I never, ever have. And so there are, he just, that at the just within a few weeks, I got the first holiday given to me. And I'd been teaching Possess the Land at a church in Mhlanga. And this is the first and only time it's ever happened to me like this. But I'd been teaching, and although the people had paid for the course, they wanted to bless me over and above that. And the pastor of the church apparently had said to them, Fiona's got this young child. Christy wasn't even a year. And we just feel as a leadership that she's really tired and that she needs a rest. And we would like to give her some money so she can just get away for a few days. And so they had made a box, made a shoebox into like a post box. And people had posted money in it for me. And in that box, there was an envelope. And the envelope showed, contained a brochure. And the brochure was of a place down the south coast of KZN, about 2 hours away from Durban. And it was a place called Palm Beach. And there was a brochure in it. And Palm Beach is a beautiful, beautiful little resort. And it's got trailer homes and caravans and things. And these people had built onto the trailer that was there, and they had turned it into a really beautiful home. And it was high up on a hill, so you could practically, feel as if it was, so because it was in a hill, you just saw straight down into the ocean, and you felt as if you could walk outside and put your toe in it. But you actually had to go down a windy hill to get to the bottom. And it had beautiful rock pools and a beautiful shell beach. You could just go there and pick up bucketfuls of shells and then sit down and sort them out. They were all these, most of them were quite small, but then you got a few bigger ones. But it was a lovely place to go. And the people who'd put the brochure in said, we would like to offer you a holiday out of season anytime you want to go. And it was the most incredible thing to me that God had done this, because I really wanted for my child to have a place where she knew that regularly she could go on holiday there. That was her holiday place. And so there are things like that, treats like that God has given to me, and other wonderful places to go. So in this life, we will get rewards. You will be rewarded with things that are important to you. And I can promise you that, because that is what God has said to us. But there's also a much greater reward is the one that lies ahead. It is greater than anything we can even imagine. Jesus said to his disciples, he said, I'm going to go and prepare a place for you. And in John 14, we read about this. And he said to them, if I've gone, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to take you with me to go and be with me where I am. And prior to that, he'd said, in my Father's house are many mansions. And he said, if it weren't so, I would have told you. But he assures us of an entry, a wonderful entry into our eternal home. And so my encouragement to all of us, and I've gone on at length about this, haven't even gotten to the teaching, but my encouragement is that you begin to just actually physically make this the endeavor that you're going to discover what lies ahead in eternity, because that will motivate you in the way you live now. Because I have studied it at length, and I've seen what the Bible has to say about it. First of all, I'm not afraid of dying. And none of us should be. Because Jesus said in Hebrews 2:14 and 15, and I'm going to read it to you, since the children have flesh and blood, he too, that's Jesus, he too shared in their humanity, so that by his death he might destroy him who holds the power of death, that is the devil. Verse 15, and free those who all their lives were held in slavery by their fear of death. And so there are scriptures like this that assure us that death is not something to be afraid of. I think all of us wouldn't want to die a horrible death. We wouldn't want to die in a plane crash or and I don't want to give a whole lot of negative examples, but none of us want to die that way. But the point is that we can also pray, and I've prayed. Just as Moses, God said to Moses, okay, I'm going to take you to heaven now. again, paraphrase. He said, go and sort everything out. And so Moses organized for Joshua to take over, laid his hands on him. And when he'd done everything that needed to be done, he went up a mountain. And they never knew what had happened to him. God must have buried him. And they searched high and low, but they couldn't find him. And I think it would be wonderful to be like that, or like Isaac, who, when he was old, he blessed each of his children and grandchildren, and then took his feet up off the ground into the bed and died. And I ministered at a wonderful church. Didn't minister, I visited this wonderful church a couple of Sundays ago. And I heard a story from the pastor about his mother, who had been running the church before he did. And he told how when she knew she was dying, she'd called for the elders of the church, gave instructions to them, prayed over them. Then she called for her family, and she prayed and prophesied over each one of her children and grandchildren, and then never spoke again, and I think passed away the next day. So it's marvelous when you are godly enough to just live this life, enjoy every second of it, but then you can just go home and be with Jesus. It's nothing to be afraid of, because what lies ahead is super exciting. And next time, and next time, and next time, I'm going to be telling you about that. God bless you, and please look forward to what is to come.